Welcome to Self-Publishing with ALLi, proudly sponsored by Publish Me, helping indie authors succeed globally with expert translation, tailored marketing, and publishing support. From first draft to international launch, Publish Me ensures your book reaches readers everywhere. Visit publishme.me. And now, here's your host for Self-Publishing with ALLi, Dan Holloway.
Hello and welcome to the Self-Publishing News, and this week I am broadcasting to you from a conference at a country house hotel, which is near Stratford-upon-Avon, and it is a fabulous surroundings from which to talk all things literary, just like being in an Agatha Christie novel, which, of course, especially as dinners are held every night in the library here, is a reminder that Agatha Christie's Murder in the or The Body in the Library, the first of the Miss Marple books, is, as of 10 days ago at the time of recording, now in the public domain, so you can do exciting creative things with The Body in the Library. So that's to start things off, and then also to start things off is a story that hasn't featured in the column, but is nonetheless something that's really, really interesting. It's the first of the in-depth pieces by Andrew Albanese as he has taken over as editor-in-chief at Publishing Perspectives, and it is a different perspective on the Anthropic settlement. And it starts with various notes about textbooks, and academic publishing has a unique status in the Anthropic settlement because whilst the terms were sort of sorted out for trade publishing and for other rights holders, as it stands, there is no agreement as to how to split any claims for titles that fall into the textbook category. Those are going to be settled on an ad hoc basis. And it seems that during December there was a bit of shenanigans or a little bit of misunderstanding, depending on whether or not you give publishers the benefit of the doubt. Sage Publishing, one of the largest publishers of textbooks, had sent out a note to authors saying that they should file their claim expecting to get or putting in a claim for 10% of the settlement amount, because that was the figure that they got for their royalties. And the Textbook and Academic Authors Association went up in arms about this, saying this had no standing in law. There has been some legal chicanery, and it seems that, yes, a corrective email has been sent out, and it remains the case that the amount that authors are going to receive will be settled on an ad hoc basis if you are the author of a textbook. So that's something to remember. But really interesting stuff at the end of this article, and I will put the link in for Howard to put in the description with this podcast. It is a reminder that while we are thinking $3,000 as the amount per title in the settlement, based on the total of the settlement and the number of potential books in the class, this is from Dave Hansen at the Authors Alliance, obviously not to be so confused with ALLi, who has done some calculations on what the actual amount of the settlement is going to be. And it is worth noting that this sort of $3,000 per title amount, according to that, looks like it is not entirely settled. It could be significantly more if not many authors, or not anything approaching the full amount of authors entitled to the settlement, actually put in claims. So that's an interesting thing to bear in mind. It could be a little bit less than $3,000. It could be substantially more, depending on the number of authors who end up constituting the class. So an interesting little angle. I recommend, in case I've misrepresented anything, I recommend you go and read, as always, in full. So what else do we have in the world of self-publishing news? We have quite a lot of news this week on video and audio, and the combination of video and audio. And video and audio always makes me think, as I mentioned in the column, of the launch of MTV and Video Killed the Radio Star, which is the song that, of course, launched MTV back 46 years ago now, 45 years ago. That does make me feel very, very old. It feels like it was yesterday that MTV launched. But it felt at the time as though, yep, audio is over, video is ruling the roost. But of late, there has been a really, really big emphasis on sort of audio first, and the rise of the podcast and the rise of audio and audio books, which of course continue to grow at or around double digits per year. And the reason for this seems to be audio is something you can do while you're doing lots of other stuff in a way that you can't do with a video. And I've seen talk even on tech sites that 2026 is going to be the year when we finally ditch screens and everything is related to voice and audio, and it happens through your headphones and smart wearables and so on. But it seems there are two stories this week which suggest that things might actually also be going in the other direction. So we are swinging back towards video. And in particular, there's sort of the connection between video and audio and video podcasting. And we start with a story from Audible, which is building on this sort of trend that you are getting on TikTok, that you get video content which is suggesting audio ideas to people. I think that sounds like a confusing way of putting it. How to put it better, that when you're watching video, adverts in video and suggestions in video for audio content are one of the key ways that people are discovering what to listen to in their podcast. So it's not that you only find audio content through audio media. It's more that you can be pointed to audio content from anywhere. And TikTok is obviously the big place at the moment where people are doing that and discovering audio content. And Audible is now tapping into this. It's launched in a very small beta, in-app video advertising, basically, for audio books. So this is basically, it's trailers, and it's the sort of extra content that you might see associated with films. So sort of interviews with authors, tiny little people involved in the production talking about how exciting it is, and generally doing things in video that will tease you towards audio content. Interestingly, the word immersive is used. I'm not sure how helpful thinking of this sort of video-audio connection as an immersive reader experience is. I think, personally, the idea of listening to audiobooks sort of on the go when you can't be engaged with a screen is still the primary way in which people are likely to do it. So I'm not sure that you necessarily want something totally immersive for an audio experience. But nonetheless, this idea of finding audiobooks from elsewhere is interesting. And Audible is now joining Spotify in being a sort of a multimedia platform, which includes video as well as audio content. Which brings me on to the other story in this vein, which is that Spotify is clearly seeing that there is this big growth in audio-video content, in particular amongst podcasters, and is trying to make it easier for podcast creators to monetize their video podcasts. So those of you out there who have video podcasts and use Spotify, that's something to think about. They are doing this by drastically cutting the minimum threshold for monetizing podcasts. Now you will need not 12, but 3 episodes of your podcast to qualify. And within the past 30 days, you will need a minimum consumption of 2,000 hours of listening, which is a huge reduction from 10,000. And you will also be able to have an engaged audience, which is halved from 2,000 to 1,000 audience members within the past 30 days. So much, much easier for people to make money from their video podcasts on Spotify, which feels like a multimedia way of ending and saying, I very much look forward to speaking to you again at the same time next week, assuming that I am not finding myself living through a country house mystery of the Agatha Christie kind in which I, for some reason, am the victim. If I am not, then I will speak to you again at the same time next week. Thank you for listening.
You've been listening to Self-Publishing with ALLi, proudly sponsored by PublishMe, helping indie authors succeed globally with expert translation, tailored marketing, and publishing support. From first draft to international launch, PublishMe ensures your book reaches readers everywhere. Visit publishme.me, and if you haven't already, we invite you to join our association and become a self-publishing ally. You can do that at allianceindependentauthors.org.